Good morning, loves. Good morning. February 26th, 2026. Right at 6:59 a.m. And an attorney asked me to do a timeline. So I'm going to do that really quickly, as quick as I can anyway, and Skippy, from 2/1863, when I was born in Oakland, California, at Providence Hospital, actually. And if you can hear purring, that's my kitty, Batty. She's with me, purring like a little baby. She's precious. Anyway, 2/18/1963 is when I came in, 3 months early, 3 pounds, 3/4 of an ounce, whatever, and on lightning, because my mother was having shock treatment, electroshock treatment to the brain. They used to, that's all they had back then, and tranquilizers, and she took many of them. Anyway, since then, November was the assassination of Kennedy, thanks to the Skull and Bones Club. You know them. Yeah. And because during Kennedy's time we had the Bay of Pigs, and he didn't want war of any kind, and he wanted to expose secret societies, you mofos. Yeah, because they brought Nazism to our country after World War II. And instead, no, we didn't defeat Germany. We negotiated and brought home their technology, confirmation, and their petroleum products, which created pharmaceutical colleges. And the doctors were not allowed to practice alternatives, even though the alternatives were the original, actually. And then, after Kennedy, they took out Martin Luther King, which was an atrocity, another skull and bones thing. And then they took out Robert Kennedy, would have been, yeah. And we had the Vietnam War because Lyndon B. Johnson wanted the Vietnam War. The money machine, the military industrial complex. Yeah. And then after Robert F. Kennedy, everything went to different presidents. And they set a precedence, didn't they? In 1963 and Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy. Yeah, of don't tell the truth, don't expose secret societies, but now it's out now. Okay, so let's fast forward to, let's see, what was the next timeline? Let's see. The hippies and the flower children. There is a differentiation. The hippies are the ones who burned their draft cards and filled their vans with pot and went to Canada and left younger veterans to fight Vietnam cleanup on their own. Yeah. And they came back, Bill Gates and whatnot, to create Silicon Valley, which will be and turn into our future technology, unfortunately. Surveillance city. Yeah, and then fast forward to, in the 1970s when divorce was all the rage and getting shaggy, free love. And, they misunderstood the flower children totally. They thought it was, free sexuality. Instead, it was love. It wasn't about sex, really. And peace, most especially. And that got sold out to the conglomos of Walmart and Sam's Club and Lowe's, they didn't close during COVID country. No, not at all. You could go to Lowe's, you could go to Walmart, you can go to your liquor store, you can go to the convenience store, but you can't go have a meal at a restaurant. What an atrocity. But I'm skipping timelines, okay? And then we had AIDS and HIV, and all the vaccines they gave us to poison us. And then they gave us AIDS and HIV back in the early 80s, didn't they? The biggest human genocide. Thank you, Anthony Fauci. AIDS, HIV, and, civil rights movements and all these things have happened in between. And then they turn AIDS and HIV into COVID country, and how many hasn't that affected? Anybody who got the vax is running on 5G technology, unfortunately. Turn people into bots pretty quickly, actually. Uh, And in that timeline, we had the falling of the Berlin Wall. We had, what haven't we had, loves? Our education system was sold out to Nazism and transgenderism. And I know I have children in it who've suffered immensely. And then they turn it into DV, domestic violence orders, to keep families separated. And in the 70s, hey, everybody was getting divorced, weren't they? That was the big thing. I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair. Yeah, and don't screw with Mother Nature. Well, yeah, you might want to hear that one, because Mother Nature and Father Creator, Elohim, whatever, they know what they're doing. Because man unkind, you created the atomic bomb, nuclear weapons, nuclear fusion, when you could have went with Tesla technology. It was far cleaner, Bunch of dumb mofos. But no, you had to have dominate. And then we have the churches who've come this far since the time of Yeshua, and they messed up everything and just gave you what they wanted to feed you and what you would listen to and what would, keep you putting money in the coffers and waiting for the rapture that ain't going to come, because you have to rise yourself in Christ consciousness. It's not just going to be thy kingdom come. You have to bring it within your heart, actually. It's called doing the right thing. And I've seen my children suffer mercilessly as a result of all of this. Judicial systems who create new laws only to make it more convenient for them to break them. It's the saddest thing. I may not post this thing, but we're coming up to date. Then we have the government, the DOJ, and Hillary Clinton, and Bush, and Obama Nation. But Hillary Clinton, when she had Lavoy Finnegan murdered at the Oregon standoff, I knew that was the end of our country right there. That was it. Now it's just a puppet show. And they think they're all the go. And man thinks he's got it over the heavenly. Man ain't got nothing, really. And that's the thing. Today there are more attorneys than there are spiritual leaders. People who understand that there's a higher plan. And that's okay, man. If you listen to the gospel of Judas Iscariot, it's all laid out for you. If you listen to the 9 letters of Christ, well, that will enlighten you. Totally. Because Yeshua told us of this day and these days that are coming. All the way until March 3rd. The next eclipse. Yeah. And this is once in a, gosh, I don't even know how many lifetimes now. I've had so many. And to see the state of humanity, not just the state of the union, unfortunately, the state of humanity. And we're all lights. We've all been injured. We're all wounded warriors. Those of us who are still capable of holding the light. That was our job. And we did it. And we're in the age of Aquarius. Bringing in the 13th constellation, Ophiuchus, which is the serpent bearer with the wisdom, which is really what we need, because I've been ignorant, and I'm Aquarius on the 29th degree. So, I'm heartbroken over how our children have suffered as a result of all these policies. I've suffered personally. Homeless for the last, 7 years or so. And I've seen what has happened to the people of America since 2/18/1963 at 6:37 a.m. in Oakland, California, where I came in. It's so sad to see. But that was my job. I've held a light. I'm a light bright. Yes, I am. I'm a flower child. I'm not a hippie skippy. And it breaks my heart to see what has happened to our country. The tentacles, the octopus. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. Yeah, that song came up because it's true. And John Lennon said it way better than me, dudes. We're listening to a bunch of insane people who are totally insane, And I just say it plain. Love you, loves. And I still hold the light of Christ consciousness. And the 5D, totally. Because Christ consciousness was the way, the truth, and the life. And what has happened to my country and my poor babies especially is an atrocity. Love you, lovelies.